Like to welcome to the process of hip hop all the way from Long Island, New York, my man Andaluz. What's going on?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey man, it's all good, bro. Thank you for joining the process of hip hop.
Thank you for having me here on your show. I appreciate it.
Man, I don't know if I've ever come across an individual, man, that has I mean, you are like a true artist. And I wanted to start with that. And when we hear the word artist in the hip hop world, we automatically assume, an MC. And obviously artist has many different definitions. And you have like two of the elements of hip hop are all in one with you. The element you got the MC, and then you got the actual, graffiti artist or the artist. Tell me, man, which one of those came first? Were you an MC first? Were you an artist first? But which one of those came first?
Well, I was born in Queens, New York, and coming from Queens at an early age, you know, hip hop played a major part of everything around me, just the culture, you know what I'm saying? And so I would say I was always into sketching, I was always into like doing comic books and stuff like that. My uncles, my grandfather, they were sketchers and they were really good. So I was always into sketching, but at the same time, my one of my uncles that we lived in the same house together. He used to make beats, and so I used to constantly hear, the loud bass, rumbling and lyrics and Naughty by Nature and Wu Tang. So it kind of both were kind of like drilled in my DNA at an early age. I really took a like to, especially I used to live in Richmond Hill off 117th and Jamaica Avenue. Now there's a train track that's right over there that constantly you hear the train every like 10 minutes, tom, 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 tom. And on the train, used to be tagged with graffiti. There was a few blocks away, there was a bank that had like a mural with like, it was a dope mural. I remember I was so young though, but it was Martin Luther King, it was Mother Teresa, it was Malcolm X. It was just like people that did stuff for the community. And so like I fell in love with both, but I always excelled as a visual artist, like sketching, since I was a little kid.
And I always feel like, shoot, I wanted to try to draw too, man, but it's almost like you either have that. I'm not Obviously it's a skill that can be improved, but in my experiences, people are just kind of naturals when it comes to the ability to see an image and then actually, sketch it out and create something. And so that's, would you agree with that? Or what did it like, was it a part of you that like continued to work on it and got better and better and better?
I think so. So you're right. There's people that are just born with certain capabilities, right? Like Michael Jordan was just an athlete, regardless. Like about NBA, I mean, he started late. That's how good he was, just in his nature. So for me, I was always good with sketching. Like it was always something that I had. But I also feel like I've seen guys that when I was in college doing fine arts that when they first started, they were just like, oh, what's going on? And even females too, like guys and females. And then years later, you see them perfect their craft and they're amazing. So it's all about perfecting your craft. And actually, I kind of feel like I shorted myself when I was younger because I was so used to being better than anyone around me as far as sketching and creating art at an early age that I didn't really hone my craft. I just looked at it like, oh, I'm good at this. Like most people do. Oh yeah, I can sketch, and you talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I used to draw and I was really good, but I don't do it no more. And it's like, that's where I was when I was younger. And like, I always wanted to do music. I always wanted to rap, like that was my goal, was be on stage and move the crowd. And, I used to lay in my bed listening to albums or with my headphones on, memorizing every word, Big Pun, Eminem, Big L, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted, but I was so gifted with art that I didn't take it serious because I thought I was like here already. And when my teachers would be like, yo, go to this arts class and take this, I never took classes. I was just nice with it. And
Mhm.
then what happened is, as I got older, I started seeing people that weren't so nice started getting here, like getting close to me. And I'm like, damn, like I need to really work on my craft, because if they could come over to where I'm at, imagine if I would have at an earlier age really focused on it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I hit like college where I was like doing stuff for like 50 Cent and celebrities and airbrushing their shirts and stuff that I really, said, let me take it to the next level with the art.
And I mean, man, you have some incredible, I mean, incredible murals, man. Like what
Thank you, brother.
yeah, well, like walk me through like what goes in. I mean, me being from LA, it's murals. I mean, it's definitely a mural rich, area where murals here, murals there. And unfortunately, some of the best murals sometimes come at the expense of the greatest tragedies too. So, we
Yeah.
have murals in LA, man. We had one of Kobe, one of
Yeah,
Nick.
I got over 300 of Kobe in California alone.
Yeah, and
It's
what but
insane.
what goes like, tell me, man, like, what goes into a mural? Because I don't think people really realize, like, what is that? Like, what goes into that from an artist perspective?
A mural, man, I love murals, right? Mural is such a beautiful thing. I mean, murals really go back to like ancient times, right? Like on the pyramids, and where they used to draw what murals kind of depict what's going on right now at this time and moment, right? So, and back then it was a necessity so that we kind of have an idea now of what went on back then. Now, there's cameras and there's all types of stuff that record documents, but still, if something happens, murals and art, takes over time. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
lasts. So I feel like what goes into a mural, I mean, of course, a lot of energy, a lot of thinking. You know what I'm saying? How do you take an image that you see on a screen that's this big and make it that big? You know what I'm saying?
right.
So there's a lot of prepping, a lot of trial and error. You don't just out of nowhere say I'm gonna do a mural and it just comes out fire. I mean, most of the time, not all the time, but you have to really think about it. Are you going to do a grid? Are you going to freestyle it? How are you going to freestyle it? Because if it's so big and you're so close, are you on a scaffold? Are you a boom lift? Because all these things take take a thought process, but also you have to see what you're doing. So if you're on a boom lift or a lift, you have to get down and walk back to make sure that everything is correct. So you can use a lift, you could use projectors. It depends on how big, how far you are. It all depends on what you're going for. But for me, when I create a mural, it all depends if it's a paid gig or if it's something that I'm doing because I want to do it. At this point, most of what I do is paid gigs, thank God. You know what I'm saying? But like the Kobe Bryant that I did in front of Barclays Center that went viral, I just did it. The DMX mural, I just did it. And really because they played a major part of my childhood, you know what I'm saying? And so, it's funny because people are always like, why can't people give everybody their flowers while they're alive? And I think that's a weird subject because at the end of the day, I think people do give people their flowers while they're alive. It's just when you die, that's the greatest day of a person's life is the day that they die, because that sums up your history. After you die, what happens after that reflects what kind of person you was, what kind of energy did you put out, right? And so that energy that you put out, once you die, it's energy never dies. You know what I'm saying? Like God is energy. He created energy. So energy never dies. It just keeps moving. So even though you're dead in the flesh, that energy now, as a creator or writer, an MC, a painter, it inspired a lot other people. Yes, he died. The energy went into other people and inspired them to say, yo, you know what? I need to put a mural up of this man because he played a major part of my life. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think murals are like super important, but it takes a lot of energy, and also tribute pieces. I know it gets fickle because some people do it for clout, some people do it for the love, some people do it for money. to me, I always tell people like whatever you do it for, just do it good. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, as an artist, it's very difficult. Like anyone knows, they always tell you don't become an artist because artists are broke. That's the first thing people would tell you. So I was told that when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? And like that could really stop the future artists, youth. Like there's so many people that you, like I said before, said, hey, I used to do art, I used to sketch, but I don't do it no more. Why? You ask them why, and they'll tell you, well, you know, it was no money in art. That's what everybody tells you. So when everybody thinks like that, what happens? There's not many artists there's not as many artists. So now what does that do for someone like me that I'm crazy? Yes, it took a long time for me to make money off art. But once you're there and you're known as an artist that does this, you don't have much competition,
Yeah,
right?
right, right. Because people, yeah, the grind that it takes to get there, most people fall off, you know,
That's the,
in the process. Yeah, no, I definitely see that. And also, you know, I look at some of, you know, your Basquiat, you know, even back in the day, Fab Five Freddy, you know, these are guys that it didn't like they weren't driven. Obviously, people got to pay bills, you got to live, but they weren't driven by the lack of money. Was more like the passion just superseded anything that they were trying like so they weren't going to be derailed from pursuing, you know,
but
a career.
you're right. But you know what else though? And I see it most mainly in minority artists. You know what I'm saying? What I see is okay, like they said, people say, oh well, artists are gonna be broke artists. I'm like, nah, I've been broke. It's not fun. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like there's artists, there's people that come from money, come from financial backings that they can do this on their spare time. And it's like, oh, it's a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a beautiful thing because art can relax you. But for me, this is how I make my money, right? So like even Basquiat or whoever else that we're talking about that's minority artists, like yes, they do it for the love. Of course, we all do it for the love, but there comes a time and point where as a minority, for me, I'm Latino. So what you have to do is you have to put a foot down and say, no, I'm worth more than what you think I'm worth. I'm not just a broke artist. And then there's a time Basquiat wasn't doing, like once he started going, he wasn't doing, like he was doing stuff, but he was getting paid
Yeah.
good money
Hmm.
to do what he was doing. And he made sure that he was going to get paid. Why? Because how many years has our people not been paid?
Right. Did it
Right?
for free. Hmm.
Did stuff for free just so that we could appease someone else.
Hmm.
And so that's why I always tell the youth is like, yes, I do a lot of stuff for free, not as much no more, unless I do it from the heart, like the DMX and the Kobe that I really felt like I wanted to do. But at the same time, there comes a point where it's like you have to know your worth. And what happens is other artists sometimes they don't understand their worth, and what they do is they charge so low that it messes up the money that the other artists could be making. So if you're charging this low and the medium is this low, now every other artist has to drop
Right.
to eat. But I said, no, I'm gonna do different because I could have been like that instead here. I said, no, I'm gonna charge this much premium. But they're like, well, why? Yeah, I'm not gonna get every person, but the people that got there's people that have money, right? Like that's just a fact. There's business owners, there's people that understand your worth. If I keep my premium here and everybody's here, they're asking, why is your premium here when everybody's here? But what happens is the people that understand worth and that have the money for it, they're gonna hire you to paint because they know that you do something that other people aren't doing. And so I always tell people, stick to your price, man. Don't let someone else dictate your price. Because if you feel like you're worth something, stick to that price, man.
Do you see yourself, man? I mean, so again, you got your music, okay,
Mhm.
and then you got your art. How do you how do you kind of balance the two, man? Like, I mean, because you're obviously more known as a artist, like a mural artist,
Mhm.
but how do you balance the two? Because obviously, being an MC, that's a craft that takes time. You got to work on that too. So how do you balance
Right.
both of those?
Um, so I've been rapping for a long time, since high school. I used to freestyle battles and stuff off the top of the dome, and it's kind of there, but it's the same way. You have to hone that skill because now it's like cadence. Now it's the different ball game. You know, there's melody, there's all types of stuff that's included. So what I do is, which is crazy because I don't do what the average person does,
Yeah.
right? Because time is limited. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
if I'm the type of person, I tell people, if I have an idea, it's already done. Like, the idea is history because it's gonna get done. So to do music, I have a lot of work. I have a lot of artwork. I literally have to say, I have an album coming out. I need 3 weeks to 4 weeks of just focusing on the album and coming up with music. And some people are like, you're gonna make an album in a month? Yeah, why not? I paint portraits in 2 hours, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's all about work ethic, right? Like I'm not a party, I'm not a party person. I'm not sitting, I'm focused. When I get focused, that's what it is. So it's like, let's get this song out. All right, let's write this verse. Let's hear a beat. I don't like that beat. Next beat, next beat. All right, cool. Oh, this beat is what I'm looking for. It's all about the project. So this last project, Welcome to the Quarantine, that I put out is literally a time capsule of what we're going through now and what we went through in the beginning and middle of the quarantine, right? So it has to do with depression. It has to do with anger. It has to do with family issues. It has to do with stress. You know what I'm saying? It has to do with a lot of prayer and relying on God. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't just do regular hip hop. It's more Christian based. So there's no person. Like, I changed my lifestyle. And so my music has to reflect that same lifestyle, right? But it still has to talk to the streets. It still has to talk to people that I relate to, because I relate to everybody. You know, I deal with DJs, I deal with rappers, I deal with NBA players, I deal with all types of people. I don't care what your race is, what your religion is, what your background is, because I'm supposed to reflect Christ. And if you know about Jesus and what he did, he dealt with sinners, he dealt with prostitutes, he dealt with all types of people. So that goes to show me, like, I have to have that same mindset. So when I go into making this Christian hip hop music, I want to be able to focus, pray about it. This is how I do my music. I pray before I even do anything. That's RM music. Sit down, talk to my father. He gives me ideas. I feel how I feel at the time. Oh, I'm pissed off about, oh, there's police injustice. I'm gonna write about that. Oh, I'm aggravated because I feel like I'm depressed. So I'm gonna write about that. There's issues I have in my household. I'm gonna write about that. And I find a month time or 2 weeks, and then I go back to work, and then another 2 weeks after. Like, I have to do it in segments. I can't just go back and forth, where I try to write as many songs as possible and record them. I literally, during the quarantine, that's why this album's so crazy, right? And that's the album cover. Welcome to the Quarantine album cover.
Yeah.
This album's so crazy because it literally is the quarantine rolled up in one ball, right? Like, we were stuck here. We couldn't go nowhere, right? We were stuck and we couldn't leave. So if I was to go to a studio, which I used to do, I'll call up my guy, my engineer. I'll go to the studio, record, but studios were closed. I couldn't do nothing. I was painting a lot. I still had a lot of painting jobs, but I was stressing out. And so my art doesn't reflect my emotion most of the time. When I feel a certain way, the way I get my emotion out is writing. It's not painting, because painting is now a job. I'm doing it 24/7. Like, I can do it with my eyes closed. But this gives me a lot of thinking. So I was like, yo, I was writing songs, but I couldn't record it. And it was very frustrating. So then what I did, in this same cottage, this is where I work. This is my art space here. The next room I'll show you in a second is where I do my merchandise and printing. Then I have my streaming stuff over there. And then I have another room that my father helped me build, a wall with a booth, and we have a screen. I put everything in it, and we made a studio, an at-home studio. And I called my engineer. I purchased everything he said I needed to purchase. I learned a little bit of using some of the programs, and I started recording, and then I would have my engineer come and tweak things up. So literally, this album reflects from how it was done in my house, because I had to buy stuff, from creating the content to what the content is about, is literally balled up in a whole album specifically about quarantine and prayer and whatnot.
Man. And but when we think about it, rap is always inspired by people's experiences, and that's typically going to be reflections of what's going on in the street, what's going on in their personal life. I mean, you did that DMX, mural in this fight. He was probably one of, I mean, you really listen. And again, I just did a show on this with my man Rap Seminar Rob. Big shout out to him. But we talked about how DMX's lyrics were some of them are depressing. I mean, one of his albums was called The Great Depression. I mean, they
Yeah.
were. I mean, they weren't like always uplifting. I mean, so the getting the inspiration and what you're going to talk about, and again, what's going on and reality, and all of those things are very much, I would say, have always been a part of hip hop. But man, I want you to show me again. You got this dope studio, man, set up. Definitely want you to show us again what you got, man, going on, man. Because like I said, I'm looking in the background. It's definitely
Mhm.
intriguing, man. So if you don't mind, man, give us a tour of the
All right.
setup.
So what I have here, this is where I do. So every Sunday, usually most Sundays, sometimes like tomorrow, I'm going to do it actually, because I didn't do it this Sunday. I do something called art class. It's a live art auction where I'll paint. I usually have like a known DJ, Scram Jones, who's my partner, legendary producer. He actually did one of the last beats that DMX got on with the Locks. They had a song that came out. He's the one who produced it. He's on Shade 45. So I started this idea where once D Nice, remember when D Nice went live and during quarantine? So I kind of seen D Nice do that. And I was like, yo, everybody is stuck in their house. So everybody's on the phone. I said, I need a DJ. That's the first thing I said. I need a DJ because I could paint live. But the thing is, like, even if it takes me an hour to 2 hours to do a face, people want to interact like how we're interacting, right? They want to be able to comment and you reply to them. That's why people stay there. But if my back is turned to you and I'm just painting, I'm not replying, you'll watch for a few seconds and then you leave and maybe come back on. So you're not interacting. So I knew I needed a DJ to go do a screen with me so that they could play music, right? It's literally the elements of hip hop. They could play music, he could DJ, we could listen to some hip hop, and they could watch me paint something, right? And then if they're writing, he could actually respond to them because he could scratch and look at the screen, but I can't because I'm looking at the painting. You understand? So we do these art auctions, and this is where I paint. I usually have my camera like right around here. I started on Instagram. We sold over 100 paintings since last year. Every single one of the paintings I did sold, which I'm grateful for. And we do 1 or 2. I don't know if you see my Red Man and Method Man that I posted up.
Man. Oh, whew.
I did each one in 2 hours, each face. I painted in 2
Did
hours.
you do that? But did you do that before the verses?
Yes, I did that. Not the same day. I did that 2 days before the verses.
Verses, okay.
On a Sunday. So for I sold those, right? So I painted those 2 hours each, and people come on the Twitch feed, and then they in the bids, in the comments, they bid, and the highest bidder at the end of the night gets the painting. So I did this with DJ Who Kid, I did this with Static Selector, Scram Jones, DJ Thorough, right, and a few other DJs that are interested in doing it. But this is my room. So if you look behind me is spray cans, a whole bunch, right? Like this is nothing. I mean, I have spray can galore. If you look here, here's more spray cans, more spray. There's all spray cans. Under here, there's paint and spray cans. Over here is brushes. And whatever I need, gas masks to paint. This is my screen that when I'm going live on Twitch or Instagram, I put a big screen so I could read the comments from far, so I can see what's going on. Over here is where I paint. Album, boom, boom, boom. We made up here a vent, so I can't do it on live because it's loud. But when I'm painting by myself for clients, I'll put the vent on, and when I'm spray painting, it'll take the fumes out because they're no joke, spray cans.
Yeah.
So this is one room. I'm gonna turn on the light in here because I have the lights off. I'm going to another area. Let me turn this light on. Let me turn this one on as well. So this area is just like a printing area. I print my merch here, direct to garment design. It's a direct to garment printer. I sell a lot of t-shirts and merch. So if you look, before I was into murals, I had a store where we did screen printing and embroidery, logos. I used to have a clothing brand. And I helped a lot of other people with their clothing brands in New York because I'm also a graphic designer and I know Illustrator and Photoshop. So I have my heat press still here. This space right here is literally for shipping stuff. It's a little messy now, but I do other prints, like my own art prints. Over here, I have it set up. That's another printer that does my art prints. That's the setup where my guy sits and does my podcast work over there. And then if we get to this next room, which is a little messy, I'm gonna show you anyways. This is where I set up a studio. Right here, I put, there's actually a piano, but I have my speakers, my computer. I have some of the amps over here. Everywhere you go, you're gonna find paintings, because I have just paintings everywhere. Everywhere, literally. I gotta organize this, but this is the space. This is my booth, right? And if you see, my colors are purple, so I always have purple and black somewhere.
Man.
Yeah, so
got it. Yeah, that's you got everything. Ain't no reason to leave. Got everything.
Yeah, man.
During the quarantine, I'm sure you was able to get a lot done.
Yeah, I got a lot done, bro. And the cool thing is, like, I had moved from where I was living for a while. I had moved, and so like probably like half a year before this whole thing happened, and where I moved, I specifically moved because I left my warehouse and I didn't want to spend more money on a warehouse, right? Because it was just like, why spend all this money when I could spend money on some place where I'm living? So I just need a bigger space that has some, space where I could work. And then I found this house where it had like a cottage in the backyard, which was like another little small house. And I was like, wow, this is perfect. Like, I could literally just walk outside, you know what I'm saying, in my pajamas and just work. So this is where I'm finally at now. And this is where I get all my work done.
So man, where do you, I mean, you have your career, your art career, I mean your murals and such, and then you have your rap career. What 3 to 5 years from now, where would you like to see yourself? I mean, because again, you literally are kind of driving down two roads simultaneously. So where would you like to see yourself?
For me, I think I will be wherever God needs me to be, as long as I'm doing right by him. You know what I'm saying? So like the music thing, I'm not like looking to be this huge rapper. The music is my kind of my ministry. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how I minister the word of God and reach people that that maybe some, like, when I talk to people, I don't like, especially when I was younger, or even now to this day, I don't like people preaching to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't like when I feel like you're preaching or trying to tell me something, because I'm hard-headed, and I know I'm hard-headed. And you tell me not to do something, I'm gonna do the opposite. So like my music, I feel like it represents me, but it also represents God, and and it's supposed to like be a reflection of God's ministry without sounding like I'm preaching. Like, I want to be able to talk to someone that I know is from the streets, or I know is from the culture, and that could relate to me, right? Because everybody has something that they relate to, right? Like, I might not relate to a certain kind of person that would never relate to me, right? But that's okay, because that's not my job. That's someone else's job to relate to that person. My job, especially if I'm supposed to be ministering for God, is to reach the sheep that maybe other people can't reach, right? And to show them, like, yo, it's okay to talk about God. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to try to change your lifestyle and do things differently. Why? Because, bro, I just really started. This is my first album. I dropped the mixtape in 2011, but it was like regular rap stuff, hard New York kind of sound. And then I was dropping an album in 2014 called Thoughts of an Artist. But literally right before I was about to drop the album, and I had Tony Yayo on there. I was working with Grand Poobah, I had on there, like a lot of legends. And then I stopped because, like, I literally got, like, I had a vision, like God sent me a dream, and it had to do with like getting out of the industry. And like, it was a crazy dream. Long story short, I knew what it meant. As soon as I woke up, it was like God was telling me, get out of her, like, get out of this industry. So I literally stopped. Like, my engineer's like, what do you mean? We're about to wrap up the album. I'm like, yo, I can't put this out. Like, I was told by God that I can't put this out. You know what I'm saying? And so we did it, and I felt bad. And what happened was I stopped listening to rap altogether because I knew that rap was like a drug for me. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a drug, and it was overwhelming because I wanted the glitz, the glamours, to have the girl dancing and jump. You know, I wanted all that stuff. But that wasn't my path. That wasn't what God needed me to do. So I left. And it's kind of like any addict, right? Like when you're trying to stop, you have to stay away from anything, right? Like you have to stay away from drinks, drugs, whatever it is that you're an addict to, you stay away from it because you know that you can be tempted. Once I was firm in the faith, once I was a little stronger, then I was like, okay, I can listen to this because I don't want to jump into this. This is not my lifestyle no more. This is not what I want. So once I finally got the okay and I started listening to music again, then I heard like some Christian rappers. In my head, I was like, I would never do Christian hip hop. It's corny. Like that's what I thought. I was like, this is corny, dog. I would never. Like I heard some stuff and it just sounded real gospel-y. I was like, nah, dog, I'm good. But then I heard some other dudes and I was like, damn, these guys are Christian hip. Yo, this is fire. Like the lyrics are crazy.
Yeah.
I started finding other people. And then I was like, yo, then I prayed about it and I got the okay that I could do this. And I was like, you know what? I can actually do this way. And you know what? God is so great that they already played my songs on the radio over here, Hot 97, Shade 45. You know, this is just me dropping the album last month. I already been on the radio a few times. And I'm not even like a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Right.
and I'm talking about God. Like I'm talking about God as I'm rapping. There's no curses, and they're playing it on the radio. So that just to me that shows like the power of God. And when you listen to what He needs you to do, He's gonna guide you. So like in 5-10 years, I am wherever God needs me to be. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Right. Word. Yeah, definitely. No, and again, I had Sho Baraka on the podcast. I don't know if you heard of him again, but he definitely talked about something similar. And I think Lecrae's success has also helped.
Lecrae's huge.
And I would say, the subgenre of hip hop that is called Christian hip hop. That's definitely helped. I think future artists and those that are interested in getting in to that particular. Um, and I already know, man, your IG, man, but what's the best place, man? Because again, you got a lot going on, man. What's the best place for people to stay in contact and abreast of what you're doing?
You said it, Instagram at Andaluz the artist, right? YouTube, same thing, Andaluz the artist on YouTube. My website, andaluztheartist.com. I'm on everything. I'm on everything that you could possibly have. But even with YouTube, like I used to be a YouTuber, right? And I was taking YouTube seriously. And I have some videos that have like hundreds of thousands of views, but it's not music. What it is me like custom painting sneakers. Like I'm an OG sneaker painter. So like a lot of these young kids that got crazy followers is because when you do anything with customizing sneakers, your following goes
Right. Yeah.
like out there, like videos that I'm doing murals with like huge, like 80-foot murals that are amazing. And then I do these little pair of Nikes and I paint it and it gets like 5 times the views that this big wall gets.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was so focused on YouTube, but it was kind of ravaging the real bread that I could make because sometimes working on a pair of sneakers so tedious with a little brush and taping it up that I could spend 2-3 days working on a pair of sneakers that people don't want to spend an extra $400 or $500 for, or I could work on a mural in 2-3 days and make 3,000. So it's like, so I had to like stop doing so many YouTube videos because YouTube is cool, but it wasn't paying the bills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's a whole nother subject, man. The sneaker industry. I mean, that whole customization and how that just exploded. Really like, especially turn of the millennium. Like, it seemed like when Nelly came out with Air Force Ones, and that just blew up to all these custom Air Force Ones and every
Right.
other shoe. But well, my man
Fact.
Andaluz, man, thank you so much for joining the process of hip hop, man. Much respect, much love, man, and best of wishes to you and your career, man, on both platforms, man. Your music,
I appreciate it.
art.
Brian, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that you got me on your platform, and that you took the time out to even interview me. I always tell people I'm very grateful. You know, there's a thousand, a million, a billion other people that you could be talking to right now. You're talking to me, so I greatly appreciate it, brother. And I ask that God continue to bless you and your platform may continue to be successful.